Hello everyone and welcome to the Old School Summer Summit. I'm your host Mod Arcane and I'm joined by the absolutely wonderful Mod Kieran.
Thank you so much, very kind words. Hello everybody.
Kind words for a kind gentleman. Tonight we have an absolute treat in store for you today as we go through all of the content that you can expect to be coming Old School's way over the next 6 months and into early 2024. Make sure you stay tuned throughout the whole show. We've got a variety of different members of the team who are going to be coming on to answer your questions and give you all the info that you need to know in regards to what's coming up. We also have some amazing competitions that are going to be happening throughout the stream. There are 4 in total. We also have some going on in our socials as well. So we can get into exactly how that works in just a moment. But before, I have to say how exciting it is to be here, how incredible the set is that we have going on as well. Kieran, how are you doing? Are you as excited as I am?
I'm fantastic. It's an incredible show coming up. We've got a lot in store for you today. I remember doing the Winter Summit back in December, right?
It was.
We revealed a whole host of exciting stuff. We'll talk a little bit about that shortly. But yeah, I think tonight's going to be even better. But let's take you to look at the shape of our roadmap at the very least.
Ooh.
Not a whole lot on it to begin with.
That was anticlimactic, wasn't it?
But look at all those shapes and nice question marks. What could they be? Who knows? As we move forward through tonight's reveals and the Summer Summit, we will be slowly revealing some of these items. So make sure you stick around for the entire show. We're going to be taking you all the way through to early 2024. But first, before we go into anything revealy, we've got a very special message from our very own Mod Pips.
Hello everyone, I am Mod Pips, and on behalf of everyone here at Jagex, we are thrilled to welcome you all to the Old School RuneScape Summer Summit livestream. It's your excitement and enthusiasm that makes this game and its community so special. So we are eager to stoke that passion by sharing our vision and plans for Old School for the rest of this year and into early 2024. This year has been extraordinary for Old School RuneScape, with some of the best content and the closest community collaboration in the game's history. Not surprising then that the community is bigger now than ever. I realise that the buzz of the Desert Treasure 2 launch is still rippling through the community, but we always aim to give you more. Which brings us next to Deadman Apocalypse. Coming your way in less than a week, it's an event that is going to set Gillinor ablaze. But for now, let's look ahead to today's summit. It's a place for us to come together with you, the community, and to ensure you're on board for the journey, shaping and championing the future of Old School RuneScape. Your passion is the lifeblood of this game, and your belief in our creative ambition is humbling, and it's what inspires us. So gear up, adventurers, because the future of Old School RuneScape is all of ours to forge together.
Thank you for that, Mod Pip. Now, another important thing to get out of the way, it's plushie giveaway time. If you want to have a chance of winning a plushie, you need to be in our Discord. So !Discord in the chat. Make sure you head over there. We've got a giveaways channel. You should be able to see it right at the top. It's literally labeled as Summer Summit Giveaways. There'll be messages posted throughout. We'll let you know exactly when it is that they go live. And you do not need to spam the chat this time. But !Discord. Follow over to our Discord server, although you're all now signing !Discord, that's brilliant. Let me tell you a little bit about Makeship before we get into the first giveaway, because we have partnered for them in this year's Summer Summit, and we are so excited to bring some of the most iconic RuneScape NPCs your way in plushie form. You can get your hands on the Wise Old Man, Neve, Gnome Child, and Bob the Cat. Now these plushies are limited edition, so order them while you can, as when they're gone, they're gone. If you can register your interest now on the Makeship store to be in one of the first people to hear when they go on sale, which will be the 23rd of August. The last date that you'll be able to order these plushies will be the 20th of September. So !Makeship in the chat for a link to the store, or you can head to makeship.com/shop/RuneScape. If you are thinking of ordering a full set, you'll receive a multi-buy discount as well. So if you want to buy 2 of them, you get 5% off. If you buy 3, it's 10% off. And if you get all 4, then you get a whopping 15% off. The cost per plushie is $29.99 plus shipping, but Makeship do ship to most countries and it's a flat shipping fee regardless. So head over to the shop, you can see all of the details there. Now, as we said, we're going to be running a few giveaways throughout today's stream, as well as on our socials, so keep an eye out and best of luck. And in terms of the first plushie to give away, it is the wonderful wise old man here, who does have a detachable staff if you want to just... They said I had to do that, so I did it during rehearsals, so we're kind of sticking with it. Anyway, the first giveaway, head over to the Discord server, react to the message, and you'll have a chance to win this. Otherwise, ! Makeship to go to the store and register your interest, and we're going to announce the winner just after the next section, which leads me quite nicely onto, once I can get him to sit, there we go. We actually have a wonderful video that's been put together by a creator that we have been working with quite a bit recently, Poisonedpotion, who'll be running through some of the smaller updates. But before then, why don't we have a quick talk about what's happened already this year? Because we have obviously had the Winter Summit and we've released content since then. I think the first one, maybe we can talk about Secrets of the North.
Secrets of the North, I think that was January we launched it, right? Like a brand new quest. It links heavily to one we'll come on to talk about just in a minute, with the Musper boss and the new Venator bow. Bit experimental of a weapon. I think a lot of players commented doesn't necessarily have a ton of use on launch, but it now does, obviously. And I think that's part and parcel of maybe how a lot of these future things might go. I like us being quite experimental with some of the new weapons we introduced. They have niche effects. It allows us to utilize the combat system in new ways. So I'm quite excited about that. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I know that initially when the Venator bow was announced, players kind of slept on it a little bit, and rightly so. There weren't a huge amount of uses for it. But that is the beauty of Old School, is that as we develop content with items that may have been out in past times or even for future updates, we can kind of design mechanics around those niches. And one of the best things that we've been doing, I think, over recent times is filling those niches or creating them at the same time. So awesome to see. Speaking of awesome, the next update really that we should talk about was Bounty Hunter. Obviously one of the most iconic PvP game modes to have existed, period. Yes, it went through its phases of being in the game, not being in the game, being back in and then not, but it's here now and it's here to stay. And I think the reception to it overall when it first released was phenomenal. We've seen so much content come out of it. Our creators are just absolutely pumping out videos. I really hope that we get to spend some time in the future as well, exploring what more we can do with Bounty Hunter, new rewards, maybe different types of creator modes, for example. But what do you think is next for PvP, Kieran? Well,
we've already been talking about one thing called Deadman. We might be talking about that a bit more very shortly. So keep a listening out for that. But I'm with you. I think there's a lot more love needed for Bounty Hunter and indeed PvP broadly. It's why we do have one of our development teams largely now focused towards PvP almost entirely. So do expect lots of other small improvements over the course of the next year or two, essentially. It'll be an ongoing sort of matter.
Awesome. You want to go for the last one?
And obviously, just a few weeks ago now, we launched Desert Treasure 2, 4 new bosses, sequel to the iconic quest, and frankly put, like one of the most ambitious quests we've ever done. I hope everybody can recognize that. It's a long quest. I think people have really enjoyed it. Some ambition with some of the new sort of gameplay going on in the Stranglewood, the puzzles content within the Lasart Undercity, which, what an area, by the way.
So fun,
like,
so good.
The music, the graphics, everything just works so well together. Literally, like, we were blown away internally by what the team was making. It's so good to see that recognized from the player base as well. And obviously, not only that, 4 brand new bosses, and it seems people have had a lot of fun with those. The Awakened forms as well, those popped off as well. People seem to really like that, with quite a cool system with the Awakened Orbs. And then we were experimenting with drop table systems. There's loads we can talk about endlessly with Desert Treasure 2, but
there is.
The hype's still going. People are still playing the bosses in their droves.
Absolutely. I think it would be one thing we definitely probably should touch on as well is the fact that many of you obviously were looking forward to new prayers, for example. We know they didn't make it into the game in the end. I think that's one of the beauties of our new way of approaching content with consultation and the community in mind, is that if we really don't feel like something is going to be released in the form that it really should, then we can kind of adjust and accommodate in other ways. And I hope now that a lot of players have realized just the sheer scope of Desert Treasure 2 and why it was so difficult for us to pull those prayers off correctly. I think we've learned a lot from consultation, and looking back now, we really should have approached that in a different way, similar to how we've approached the potential new skill, sailing, for example. something like a prayer book has such a massive impact on the game, probably as significant as a new skill does. So that's definitely been a big learning point for us, that we really need to make sure that when there are larger game-changing content updates, that we just spend a lot more time planning, dealing with the community, handling feedback, making sure that everything is in place before we actually go ahead, and juggling a brand new quest, 4 new bosses, loads of new areas to explore was maybe a little bit too much to just bundle in prayers as well. But I don't think it's going to be the end for prayers. I'm sure we'll rediscover or re-engage with that topic again in the future.
It's definitely popular. There's still loads of great suggestions that the community's been discussing on Reddit and so on. There's this idea of like having a god alignment system. A lot of people seem to really like that. I know several people internally quite like that idea as well. I don't know when we'll revisit prayers, but we know you like it. We know you want to see something with prayers, and the skill's got plenty of room to do that with.
For sure.
But we'll definitely give it the time to get it right. That said, Desert Treasure 2 is packed full of rewards anyway. There's plenty of reason to do it, plenty of reason to do those bosses.
Absolutely is, and we've always got that reward in our back pockets now. And if you were listening very closely earlier on, I said we were going to go over some of the smaller content updates. Even though I have a huge iPad, almost bigger than my forehead in my hands, I still managed to mess up the show order. So apologies, production. I did hear them panic a little bit. We're actually going to go into something entirely different, and it is something that you are pretty much already aware of the fact that it's happening. We released a blog around it recently, but we have a fantastic video with some of the developers who have been working on Deadman that we'd like to show you, and then we'll be joined by Mod Manx to answer a few questions that we have. So roll the VT and enjoy.
My name's Seb, also known as Mod Manx these days, and in 2017 I won Deadman mode, in 2018 I won All Stars, and in 2019 we also won another Deadman mode, which was great. I now work at Jagex as a junior content developer, and it is my dream job, and it's amazing.
Deadman is a temporary game mode in which you have a brand new save profile separate to your own one, and over the course of some weeks, you get to play the game again with different effects, except because it's Deadman, it's PvP basically everywhere.
The community is always very important for us, so we've actually collected a lot of feedback and advice from the previous Deadman, and the important thing here is to make sure the dev team and the community are on the same page.
In similar to previous Deadman events, we will be giving you a starter pack when you join the server. This time we're giving you a staff that can cast Fire Strike, as well as a bow that can fire some decent arrows, and these will increase in damage and strength as you go through the combat brackets to give you something that at least has use going forwards.
In the future, we're hoping to transition accounts to World 45, if the community wants it. So we've kept this in mind, and we're going to make the XP rates still good, but they're not going to be too excessive.
We will give you increased XP as you play the game. We have 5 servers based on combat brackets, and every time you progress between them, the XP multiplier will increase as you go up, so you can get some very sweet gains.
The point-based system is a new system we have introduced this time. The important thing here is the more difficult, the high risk of the activity you've done, the more point you will earn from this system.
You've got clue scrolls, you get points. You do bosses, you get points. You get levels, you get points. Anything you do that can meaningfully contribute to your game can get you points.
So because there is PvP almost everywhere, you'd think that PKs are the main priority for Deadman. However, there's a lot of players who like to play for the pure aspect of survival, the pure thrill of running around in game, doing some content you love, but then there's also a danger.
In Deadman Apocalypse, there will be events happening twice a day where we will be spawning a whole multitude of bosses such as General Grador and Krill Sarath. Is that how you pronounce his name?
They are very powerful and dangerous monsters, so players will need to make decisions at that time to decide if they want to take the risk to fight this monster, earn the point and the rare reward.
Through these breaches, you're going to be fighting a lot of bosses and a lot of players, so naturally the reward has to be worth it. What we're offering you are blighted weapons, copies of existing powerful items that are usable in Deadman but accessible from these breaches instead.
The 3-life system is actually a pretty interesting one, but also is a punishing one for the new players.
It helped for the first 2 deaths, but unfortunately on the 3rd death it was just far too punishing. So again, we want this Deadman Apocalypse to be extremely fun and enjoyable and not too punishing, so you can play more casually and not feel like you're really far behind, and if you die, everything's lost.
I think the Sigil is also a system has been worked really well from the last time, as know people have been loving that, and we've got a lot of feedback about how we can make them better.
One utility sigil is the Sigil of Vengeance. Now, you might think, why would we want Vengeance? You can just use a spellbook for that. Well, you could just be on the ancient spellbook and also have Vengeance, which will be an extremely different meta and make fights extremely scary, and there'll be several sigils like that will change up both PKing and PVMing.
In previous Deadman events, we had a 1v1 finale. For this one, we are changing things up a bit. We are going to have multiple finales going on at the same time, essentially. We are going to have multiple worlds that anyone who's participated in Deadman can join, so you'll be constantly fighting people to the death while this is going on. And then we're going to throw General Grado at you again. We are embracing the chaos for this. This is not a hardcore taunt. This is a fun explosion. We are just going to throw everything at a wall and hope it sticks, and we're going to have a good time doing it.
And as if by magic, we are suddenly joined by the wonderful Mod Manked, the absolute behemoth in the PvP scene and one of the greatest new additions to the Old School team. Manked, absolute pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Very excited for this.
Good. Well, my first question for you is, I have to ask it because it would be amiss not to. You were a player before you were a developer, as well as a seasoned PvP and Deadman mode veteran. How different is it being on the other side now that you're part of the team?
It's great to see everyone's passion in the team. You can tell everything that goes into updates is just from the heart, you know. Personally, for me, because Deadman's a limited time game mode, it only lasts for like 3 weeks normally, but because I'm now working on it, I can experience it for like 3 months, and I can just think about Deadman for so much longer. It's so good.
That's so cute. I think you're underselling it.
I feel a little bit heartwarmed, to be honest. It's like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
You're saying Deadman veteran. This man won.
Yeah.
He is one Deadman. Like, that's serious. Right. Obviously, you're relatively new to the team still. I'm interested in, like, what's been your sort of biggest learning throughout this project?
Yeah, Deadman, there's so much scope, there's so much possibility with it. So really nailing down what you want to include is a big challenge, because there's so many ideas, there's so many routes you can go down. It's just so difficult, you know, picking one. So yeah, we can always explore loads of different options, and hopefully this one, it's very different to the past. So hopefully players really enjoy it.
Awesome. So very different from the past. How excited should players be for Deadman Apocalypse? And you've already said how it will be very different, but like, just how different do you think it will be from previous iterations?
So I think players should be really excited. If you've never played it before, this will be the perfect Deadman for you to get involved with. The reason is there's just going to be so much different stuff going on, and like I said, there's different stuff. So breaches, for example, they're going to be spawning all over the world every few hours. We've posted that in the blog so you guys can see exactly when it is, but there's going to be loads of bosses, loads of PKs trying to kill the people, killing the bosses. It's just going to be chaos, but it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be great for all involved.
Awesome. I mean, you're obviously a PvP wizard. There's plenty of people in the chat who I'm sure are pro PvP players as well. Is that the right terminology? PvP wizard. It's sticking now. It just kind of came out. But what about those who have never really done a PvP or are less experienced in PvP? Why should they try out Deadman Apocalypse?
So there's a new point system which everyone can get involved with. If you're doing clues, you get points, like Simon, that was said in the teaser.
Kirby.
Kirby, that's the mod name, thank you. And you can just do a range of activities. If you enjoy PVM, clues, doing achievement diaries, you know, you get points. You go to breaches, you get loads of points. It's just something for everyone. And we've got brackets as well this time around. So if someone's like myself, I used to play several hours a day, and it used to be really difficult to compete with someone like me, but now we've got brackets. So that's really going to limit how how far ahead someone like me could get against someone who's only playing 1 or 2 hours a day. So it should be a lot more casual friendly, and you can just go at your own pace. And if you're working, 9 to 5, then you can get home and enjoy yourself.
Awesome. I have to say, I think combat brackets were one of my favourite changes that happened in Deadman Reborn, so I'm really glad to see them come back, because so many players just made really whack builds that fit a particular combat bracket. And I think one of the things I love the most about PvP is the variety of how many different builds and setups you can have. And Deadman pushes that to the next level because of the XP loss and the items that you can't normally attain, as well as the sigils. It's just PvP on steroids. It's insane. But what are you most excited for about this iteration of Deadman in particular? Is there one thing that you think is going to take over the meta? I think you touched on the sigil of vengeance. Are there any others like that we haven't mentioned that you might be thinking?
I'm not going to mention them because I just want everyone to find them out when they get them in game. I think it'll just be really fun. But breaches will just be crazy. They'll be so much fun. They'll be so different to what we've had in the past. It will give everyone kind of a reason every day to log in and compete with each other. As well as the point system. I think, like you said, it's now called the Trinket of Vengeance, and there are other trinkets like that, such as the Trinket of Undead, and they're really powerful. They mean you don't have to be on that spell book, so you don't have to be on the Arceus spell book to use those thralls. Yes.
Wow.
So it's just going to completely change the meta. There's so many new sigils that are going to completely change the meta for PVM as well, and PvP. It's just going to be really fun, and there's going to be so much content from it.
Okay, all right.
That's wild.
May have to start playing myself. We'll see how it goes.
One of the things that's changed this time is the 1v1 finales. Maybe you're better to talk about this, Aiza, but why have we decided to move away from the format we've stuck with Deadman for quite a while?
Sure. Okay. I think first and foremost, one of the most obvious things is we've all experienced Deadman over the years. We've ran so many of them now, and I think it's safe to say that the majority, if not all of them, were plagued with issues. Mostly related to issues over having things running on the internet, network attacks, that kind of thing, nefarious play, players just really ruining the event for others. And obviously we've also experienced technical issues ourselves with bugs and problems that we've looked to resolve over time. So that was one of the main drivers for us of looking to have a different format in the future. It's something that I would like us to re-explore and potentially see if there is a LAN element that we can bring into Deadman, perhaps after multiple Deadmans over the course of a period of time, for example. But for this one, it really was just about, if we're going to bring Deadman back, how do we do it and make sure that people still have a really good time without having the traditional 1v1 finale setting that we had? And I remember it was a few years back now, and I think we were sat after a previous Deadman in the hotel bar chatting around what we could do, and I just was like, what if we just made an apocalypse? What if we just ruined the world and suddenly the whole of Gillinor was spawned with bosses, and that was what people did, and we just got to talk about it and watch players just get decimated by bosses they would normally fight in instances or different areas, or if Zook just suddenly appeared to be floating around Falador, what would happen in those instances? How would players react? And for some crazy, surreal reason, the designers decided to take that upon themselves to make it into an actual thing, and we now have Deadman Apocalypse. And I love the idea of breaches, and I think the fact of that kind of like culminating over the course of 3 weeks into this epic finale where there's just so much going on will make for a really, really different viewing experience, one that we've never seen before. So yeah, experimenting with something new, but also trying to avoid some of the issues that we've had in the past. Okay, so are you going to be playing Banked? We know you can't compete, but surely you've got to be going out there and slaying some noobs.
Of course. I could not. There's just so much for me personally to be excited about. I know how crazy it's going to be, so I'm definitely going to jump in. Going to have multiple accounts, all the different brackets. It's going to be so much fun. Another great thing about Deadman this time around is everything's actually going into, all the accounts are going into World 45 after. So you no longer lose your progress anymore. It's no longer a temporary game mode, because all the progress you make will transfer to World 45 and you'll forever have that, which is amazing as well.
Yeah, it's really nice to see some new life being breathed into those servers as well. I know that there's been discussions for ages around, should we reset them? Should we do something else? Should we let XP transfer over? I think the way that we've approached it this way around is actually one of the best, if not the best thing that we could have done outside of a reset. So really excited to see how that comes down, and grateful for the fact that we managed to get that in.
Awesome. Right, one last question. Mankt, as the expert, what is one piece of advice, if you could share one thing, for players who are going to be playing Deadman Apocalypse?
take it at your own pace, do what you enjoy doing in game. Always bring food on you, because the amount of people I've killed in Deadman that don't have food on them is crazy. So please, if you are playing Deadman, just bring food with you wherever you go, and always think, where's my escape? And you won't die as much. I promise you that.
So basically, eat food and you don't die.
Yes.
We've heard that many a time.
Yeah.
Skill specs, I'm calling you out in particular.
All right, so as a final reminder, we've touched on the release date. Deadman Apocalypse goes live on August the 25th. That is very soon. So make sure you're on for that. There's a whopping prize pool to be earned, and you've got to be involved if you want to be getting part of that. $25,000 are up for grabs. So if that ain't reason to get involved, I don't know what is. From there, you'll have 3 weeks to make progress. The worlds will close on Friday, September the 15th. But that's not where the journey ends, because the day after that finale we've been talking about will open on Saturday, September the 16th. There's a whole bunch of times. They're all going to be communicated in the blog, which you can access with !DMM. All those exact timings, work out what time zone works for you, etc. will be right there. With that said, I think it's time to announce who's won a certain plushie.
Who won the wise old man? Let's reveal it. Dum dum dum. I believe it goes to a player called Bjorn. So congratulations on winning your wise old man plushie. !Discord for a link to the Discord server. !Makeship for a link to the page so you can register your interest, ready for when they go on sale on August 23rd. And we now have the opportunity to give away a different plush. So if you're feeling, a little bit lonely, maybe you want a nice little waifu to stay with you and have a nice little sleep, you can give her a little cuddle, the absolutely amazing Neve plush. If you don't want to enter for this one, then there is something wrong. Make sure that you !Discord, join the server, get involved, react to the post. This could be yours. Imagine that. You can detach the lovely spear too. It's incredible. It's got a fire cape on the back. Look at the detail. The attention is impeccable. And I'll carefully place her back down now before I get too excited.
You do well on one of those shopping channels.
Yeah, call me up, QVC. There we go. She's back safe and sound, for now at least, anyway. All right, so let's recorrect my mistake from before. We mentioned we're going to talk about some of the smaller updates that you can expect coming out over the next 6 months and into early 2024. And this is now time for the video from Poisonedpotion. So roll the VT.
Hello everyone, this is Poisonedpotion, or PP for short, and I'll be filling you in on some of the smaller updates to Old School RuneScape within the next few months. Coming in autumn 2023, there are some eagerly awaited changes to Chambers of Xeric. As we all know, Chambers is the only randomly generated raid, which to some people may be more enjoyable, but for others they prefer to have a bit more control in their encounters, which is why the team is hoping to implement a solution. One proposal could be using tokens that could potentially alter layouts to your liking. These tokens could be obtained at the end of the raid or purchased for GP outside of the raid. How exactly something like this would be implemented would be up to the players. Additionally, Jagex wants to provide a scaling system at Chambers. This would allow players to make a raid more difficult without having to use multiple alt accounts before starting. It's not decided yet on whether or not upping the scale of a raid should cost anything, but that info will come out later. Finally, the team will also be looking at balancing and quality of life improvements for Chambers. Check out the blog for more information and tell the team what you think of their proposals. Moving on to the final forestry launch. The recent poll saw everything pass, which means very soon we'll be seeing things like campfires to train fire making, two-handed axes, sawmill vouchers, and a whole host of new events which will give out new cosmetic items such as the pheasant outfit. So if laid-back skills and fashionscape is some of your favorite content, you'll be very happy very soon. Now let's get into a new quest, or rather an old quest, Path of Glofrey, an experience level quest on the Gnome storyline. Originally released back in September 2007, just weeks after the August backup on which Old School RuneScape was based. The team is proposing that Path of Glofrey returns with some old school polish and new rewards. A new unique from them would be the Warped Scepter, a magic staff that sits between the Iban staff and the Trident of the Seas in power level. This is to help balance out mid-level magic damage progression. If this is something that interests you, then be on the lookout for the poll coming soon. If it's voted in, you can expect to see this quest as early as 1 month from now. Now it's time to talk about gameplay for all of you noobs out there. Jagex is hoping to flesh out mid-level content a bit more in the near future, and that's why in winter 2023 they'd like to release an encounter that helps introduce players to the fundamentals of combat. Going from simpler content such as Bryophyta, Barrows, and Sarachnis to content like Zulrah, Raids, and Nex can be a bit jarring for new players. Ideally, this update will introduce a boss that is a bit more mechanically intensive, but will still be viable for players on their journey to max combat. Check out the blog for a bit more information on this, and share feedback as well as ideas you may have. That's just about all I've got for you today. Again, my name's Poisonedpotion, or PP for short, and always remember, big things come in small updates. Kieran, Aiza, back to you.
Thank you so much for that, Poisonedpotion, or PP for short. And we are now joined by the absolutely handsome Mod Sween. My apologies. How are you doing, Sween?
Thanks, mate.
He bigged this up in the little break just
Come
now.
on, you've ruined it now. It was meant to just be all smooth and calm and casual, but right, never mind. Sween, how are you doing today?
Very well.
Good. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us.
Pleasure to be here. I've been enjoying the show so far.
Good.
A lot of nervousness beforehand.
Yeah, just a little
I
bit.
think we're finding a bit of a comfy flow.
We're getting there. I messed up a little bit in terms of the show flow, but it's okay. What's life about a little bit of danger? It's fine.
It's all right. You're under pressure now because it's time for some questions.
Yep.
Sween. Why are we sharing smaller updates in the summit? Isn't this typically the time that we're going to do the big announcements?
Typically, it is the time we do the big announcements. Winter Summit went really well, but we did have, I'm going to look here, we did have some feedback last time. Not much in the way of critical feedback, but a lot of players felt as though we weren't paying enough attention, or at least talking about paying enough attention to existing content, fixing content. So this time around, even though I know a lot of these aren't the most exciting, and stay tuned for the most exciting announcements. I've been stitched up a bit. I've got the dregs to announce. That's fine.
I don't know. Chat was pogging off though
Okay,
with some of the things that are going on there, chambers and POG especially, for sure.
It's good stuff.
But even though there'll be some naysayers, like we don't care about these little smaller things, I think it's a lose-lose situation. Either we don't talk about them or we do. Either way, someone's going to say something. Showing it on a roadmap is the best thing for everyone. It's a more transparent way of looking at things longer term. So that's why.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, now before we ask you about the other content announcements, I just want to talk about Forestry briefly. We obviously put that up in there in the video as well. It is going to be coming out later this year.
Brave.
But I know that there was a lot of conversation within the community around Forestry, so let's address that very quickly. Forestry was one of the first projects that we put through the new form of community consultation with the new polling approach. And I think it's safe to say that we have learned a significant amount in that time. It has definitely shown us the kind of things that we should and we shouldn't do during consultation, and how we should and shouldn't approach things at the same time. You'll notice that a lot of the rewards, the tea leave effects especially, we just cut those out after the second round of feedback came through. It was quite clear that you didn't want them. And that's something that we're going to continue to do. Hopefully we'll be able to get there a little bit sooner next time, but that is something that I think we as a community should start getting accustomed to. We're going to ask you questions that might offer content that you may not like, and it is your role and duty to tell us if you don't like them. It's then down to us to make sure that we don't put them out to you when it comes to the polls. And that's exactly what we tried to do with Forestry, and hopefully, as we've said, we've learned a lot from it. We'll be able to continue and make sure that the rest of the content we offer in a similar vein can only be improved onwards going forward. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to make sure I addressed it. I saw a few people mentioning it in the chat. We can carry on with the rest of the questions now.
Yeah, I would say the two-handed axes are looking pretty sick.
Yeah, they do. You know, actually, one of the great things about your feedback is I think we saw within the first day of showing off the images of the two-handed axes, you didn't like the pose that they were using. So we went to the art team, gave that feedback, and within the next day, we turned around and said, you know what, we're going to change it. We're going to give them exactly how you want them, because it does look badass.
That's the very basics. That's the point of the consultation.
Exactly.
So, Path of Glyphery, why are we bringing it back?
So last year, sometime, there was a big survey about kind of quest porting, bringing quests from RuneScape 3, but with an old school twist, and Path of Glyphery was one of the most popular choices, so we went for it. And I think some people will have picked up on what it might mean longer term, but some people need a less subtle hint. If you look at what the quest unlocks in RS3, the other quests that come after it, maybe there's some exciting stuff ahead.
Ooh, that's a tease.
Ooh, a little bit of a tease.
That's a go and look it up. So you mentioned old school twists. What's actually going to be different with this release?
So the quest originally unlocked the Poison Waste Dungeon with 2 Slayer creatures. That's probably the most notable unlock beyond the other quests that come after it. People didn't like these Slayer creatures. the Slayer Bust. The drop tables weren't great, they didn't feel too rewarding, they were quite annoying. They automatically unlocked, you had to go and do them. You had to manually use the crystal chime on the monsters. So this time we're going to make it like less awkward, less annoying, better qual changes, rebalance drop tables, and add a new staff, as Poisonedpotion mentioned, the Warped Scepter, which kind of mid-level powered staff, sit between a bit like Trident, sit between Ivan staff.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's move on from POG for now and talk about Chambers Scouting. We're finally allowing players to determine the raid layout themselves. Obviously, we've got the video out there, there's a blog, but just quickly, could you maybe give us a bit of an explanation on how it will work, and will there be a cost associated for that, for example?
So, we think we know how it will work, but ultimately we want player feedback. We know what we're trying to solve. In terms of how we actually do it, that's probably where players should tell us. What we're thinking, and as Poisonedpotion said, is maybe with some kind of currency you get from the raid, or maybe just directly through GP. We give you some level of customization, but we don't totally let you, ruin the magic of Chambers. The variety is great. It's the only kind of raid like that, where it could be multiple different layouts in different orders. We want to keep that a little bit. So whether it's a token you get from doing the raids, or whether it's GP or a bit of both, don't know. Let us know what you think. We want to maybe let you choose to exclude some rooms, filter some rooms, or maybe we give you, working with you to understand what it should be, some layouts to choose from.
Awesome. Okay, and maybe for those who are less informed when it comes to Chambers of Xeric and higher end raiding, scaling, why did we feel the need to change that?
So it's a funny one, right? Like the people already doing the scaling probably don't care about the change because they're used to it already. But if we really think about the content, it's weird and it's not great that you have to use alt accounts or friends accounts or borrowed accounts or other people's accounts or any other account that you don't really want to play on other than to scale with. Not a great look, so that's what we want to try and fix. That's what we're going to try and address. Hopefully, it will lead to more people doing Chambers at a higher level.
Awesome. All right, sounds really good. I think they're two very welcome changes within the community, especially. So
something we've seen people shouting for quite a while now, and it deserves some love because I know it's still a very much well-loved raid.
And really, it's kind of one we've been not like kicking down the road, but we've talked about it a lot for quite a long time. It's not just players asking for it; we've been addressing it too. So it's about time, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. The last thing mentioned in the video was a mid-level PVM boss. This is something I'm particularly passionate about, trying to create an accessible piece of content here. What's made us decide to do this now, Sween? So,
that kind of the early game experience has been something we've tried to work on for a long time now. And I think it's, the order of announcements here is interesting because we've gone straight to the mid-level. People are like, who cares about that? But maybe stay tuned and you'll hear something cooler, ready for you. But for other players, how do they get into endgame PVM? Contrary to what some players might think, some content creators might think, we really do like making endgame stuff, but we have to think about accessibility and people getting into the content. What a mid-level boss, the way we were looking at it, will allow us to do is move more players from being silly little noobs who don't know how to kill stuff. They can go and do raids, they can go and do the D2 bosses, they can go and do TOB, they can go and do that kind of content. So this isn't about us just trying to dump a ton of content on noobs and call it a day. It's about us trying to get as many noobs to the end game as possible. So then we can really make more end game content and give players more challenges.
As I say, the more players we have at that level, then the more demand there is for that content as well. And we obviously know there's a demand there, but at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we're serving the entire community at the same time. So really, really good. I'm glad to see that coming as well. It's something that I've definitely experienced myself. Thankfully, I've had a lot of help along the way to just jump straight into end game content, but other people aren't as fortunate to be able to do that. So the learning curve can be quite steep. So
I think we just need to simply ask with patience, ask with a bit of trust from the players. Our motivations for this mid-level content are pretty genuine, We do want to make players better so we can release harder content more often, more regularly.
There's a gulf.
Yeah.
Going beyond barrows, trying to get your first 5 hit and stuff, that's quite a big gap. All this stuff's going to let us teach you, starting to switch your prayers, starting to change your gear and respond to things in the fight, move around appropriately, get your reaction times to be better. All this stuff, hopefully, we will start to bridge that gap and make a big difference there. With that said, if you do want to read up more details on all of this, we got another exclamation mark for you, and this one's exciting. Exclamation mark POG, everyone's favourite word. Get in there, and it will show you all the info about Chambers, Path of Gallifrey. That's the name, right?
You're about to say PoE. I thought.
I don't know what I was going to say. And obviously the mid-level PVM update too.
Before I do disappear, I think one more thing as well. We haven't mentioned seasonal events. There'll be a Halloween event, there'll be a Christmas event. We haven't mentioned the normal quality of life polls, like poll 80 is still kind of ready to come out, and then there might be a poll 81 for the rest of the year. And also, soon we'll be ready to start talking about blood runes and our design, our plan for blood runes in the next few weeks. Wasn't quite ready for the stream, but soon.
But it's well in progress, I know that's for sure.
Can definitely say it's well in progress. We've had Mod Goblin on the case working through the blog, and I'm just going to take this moment very quickly. We've got so many fantastic staff members helping out with the event today, from production to the designers to the community team. So if you want, make sure you throw some love in the chat, show your appreciation for everyone working behind the scenes. It's not by magic that the blogs suddenly go live as we're talking about them. There are people behind the scenes not having as much fun as we are here on the stream to make that happen. So big shout out to everyone for making this possible. And I think we can now maybe just quickly go into deciding who, well, not deciding, it's already been decided, but announcing who won the Neve plush. So I'm going to take this opportunity to just hold on my hands. Chance. This is literally it, the farewell. And the winner of the Neve plush goes to X10 Pancakes. So congratulations, X10 Pancakes. Remember, if you want to have a chance to win one of these plushes, !Discord, join the server, check out the giveaway channel, and !Make ship to see the website link, which will allow you to pre-register your interest ready for when they go on sale on the 23rd of August. And we're now ready to give away the second plush, which Mod Kieran will gladly showcase for us.
It's the Gnome Child! Yay! And this guy is cool. He's cute. But all of these have had little Velcro attachments.
They have. You got a little gnome batter in the hand there.
You got the staff of the wise old man. But you can pickpocket gnomes. And what do you pickpocket? No one. I don't think anyone actually does it. But a little toad in Gnome Child's back pocket. That could be yours. How cute!
That's not what you said during rehearsal.
No, it isn't, but I'm not going to replicate that. So yeah, !Discord if you want to be in a chance of winning and react to the post in the hashtag giveaway channel, I believe.
It's so cute.
Absolutely.
It's so cute. All right, now let's have a look. We've just announced a fair bunch of pieces. So what does the roadmap look like so far? Oh, well, it's pretty different from how it was before. There's a lot that's been filled up in there now. We've obviously talked about Deadman, the Chambers of Xeric changes, Path of Glothery, Forestry coming out really soon, a Halloween event. Oh, and yet to be announced. Pretty big box that is. I wonder what it could be. I guess you'd have to carry on watching to find out. Then we've got a Christmas event, the mid-level PVM update, and then what's that? Another little box to unveil. Oh, I guess you're just going to have to carry on watching. What a shame. How are you feeling so far? Does that roadmap excite you?
That is exciting. There's a whole host of exciting things in that small section. That's a sort of core bread and butter. Mm-hmm. Now it's time for some cake soon. So.
Okay.
Excited. But before we get to that, it's time for the little sellout section. It is everybody's favourite section of the stream.
This is my favourite section for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are offering a special discount. 10% off Premier membership for the next 48 hours. That is a very short period of time. This is the best value membership package that we offer, and we've made it even better to celebrate the Summer Summit and the future of Old School. All you need to do is simply go to the store, purchase the 12-month package, and the discount will automatically be applied. I believe you can do !sub or !membership in the chat to get to that. Yeah. But you can see on screen, like, that's a pretty decent price.
It is, and I think just something to make people aware of is that there is already currently, or has been, an offer on Premier membership for a while now. It was made, I believe, 44% cheaper on average, and this is an additional 10% on top of that. So if you're looking at it in terms of GBP, the Great British Pound, it's £4.50 a month over the course of 12 months, which is cheaper than some grandfathered rates of players that have been subbed for years now. So definitely the lowest that it's been, and the absolute best value. It's kind of crazy, actually, for a live service game, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll remind you later when we've seen some more exciting stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because it's the best way to lock in for all this content coming up.
It absolutely is. Now, we're going to be taking a quick break, but I would just like to inform you all that there are two things to keep in mind. Number one, we've got some absolutely incredible content that our creators, our community members have been making that we want to showcase during this time. Please go and show them some love and support. Their handles will be in the images. And do not go anywhere, because as soon as this ends, as soon as the break's over, we're going straight into the next announcement. And I'm pretty sure that you're all going to be watching that, because you've been asking for it for quite some time now.
The trailer is probably one of my favourite trailers we've made.
Yeah,
I love this next trailer. And then That's the next box you're going to see. That last box will blow you away. I've seen people being like, oh, we've been baited. It's Halloween and Christmas on the roadmap. Doesn't matter. Those next 2 boxes are going to be awesome. Next trailer's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got time to get back and actually watch it.
Yeah, it has literally all been leading up to this moment. You know, we've given you a little tease now. These 2 things, you are not going to want to miss them. And there will not be any warning. Once that countdown ends, as soon as the break's over, as soon as I've had a chance to de-sweat and come back, we're going straight into it. So stay tuned and we'll see you in around about 10 minutes or so.
It's the one you've been waiting for. Leagues is back. For those unaware, Leagues is Old School's time-limited event that has a fresh beginning, with boosted XP, drop rates, a custom task list, and lots of powerful relics to unlock. Since Shattered Relics closed last year, we've been carefully thinking about what the future of Leagues looks like. There's a lot to love about Shattered Relics, but it's also fair to say they didn't quite hit the mark in the same way that Trailblazer did. With that in mind, what better way for Leagues to return than in the form of Trailblazer once more, with Leagues 4 Trailblazer Reloaded. The return of Trailblazer is something that's been hotly requested, pretty much since the day it ended. But if you're worried about things being too familiar, then fear not, because this is more than just a rerun. While Trailblazer will act as a basis for this new league, we've got a lot of changes lined up to make things feel nice and fresh. If you're expecting to just dig out some videos from 3 years ago and follow the exact same metas as before, then think again. We've got new tasks, new relics, new areas, and of course all of the updates that have come to the game since Trailblazer ended. Take the desert for example. Only fools picked that area last time. But now we have Temporos, Tombs of Mascot, and Desert Treasure 2. Those additions alone completely changed the meta, and that's just one area. Elsewhere, we have things like Nex, Guardians of the Rift, combat achievements, and a Kingdom Divided, all changing up the way you play. And of course, with these new additions come new tasks. But as mentioned, it's not just the updates we've released since Trailblazer that will be changing how you play. We're also adding brand new areas in the form of Kurend and Kebos. New areas means new choices, and you'll have to be even more careful with what areas you pick. Will the possibilities offered by the Chambers of Xeric be enough to skip Kandarin this time? That's for you to decide. Trailblazer Reloaded will be coming with revamps to both relics and tasks. For relics, you can expect some relics to depart, but exciting new ones to take their place. We've also got rebalances to existing relics, and even a brand new relic tier. Meanwhile, along with new tasks for Kurend, Kebos, and the various updates released since Trailblazer, we'll also be taking a good look at the existing tasks. Lastly, a new league means new rewards. Alongside the standard new additions to the reward shop that you've come to expect, we're also going to be updating rank thresholds for leagues to be a static point value, as opposed to being the top percentage of players. Ever-moving thresholds can be quite frustrating, because you never know for sure where you actually sit. They also mean that rewards can't be given to you until the league is completely ended. With these changes, we'll be able to signpost exactly how many points you need for each rank, making it much easier for you to plan your league strategy. That was just a quick first look at Trailblazer Reloaded, and we can't wait to share more with you in the run-up to the launch later this year.
So, Leagues 4, bet you weren't expecting that. How exciting.
Let's go.
Welcome, Mod Arcane, to the live stream. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. I'm just chilling out. This is really not a good look, though. I can't really see much at all, so put the actual nerdy glasses back on.
The summer vibes were there, though. But before we go into some questions, I just got a very quick message for you all.
I do have a really quick message. Due to popular demand, thank you so much to everyone in the chat. You managed to crash the website in regards to the membership offer. The team are aware, they're working on fixing it. I guess that's a good sign, if nothing else. Just remember, it is available for 48 hours, so fingers crossed we'll be able to manage the traffic very soon, but an absolute incredible turnout, and thank you for being patient with us. It happens. Live production, baby.
Suffering from success,
yeah.
I think is the term, right?
I know.
Hopefully, anyway. Right, some questions. So, Trailblazer Reloaded. The first thing you might be thinking is, Trailblazer was Leagues 2. Why have we decided to go back to revisiting an old sort of league?
Well, similar to what the video was talking about, like Shattered Relics tried to do something different and tried to innovate on the league's formula, basically. And at the end of the day, the area lock system works really well. It actually like innovates in terms of like your gameplay. There's some really interesting decision-making choices there, and it really forces you to play the game in a different way. Shattered Relics, whilst it did have some sort of pathing opportunities in terms of what skills you unlocked and things like that, being locked to just like one or two areas really forces you to train skills in really unique ways. And that's just honestly just really fun. So I think the idea is to go back, revisit it, refine it, make it better, see what we can really do with that formula.
Okay, so I guess speaking about changes and how we can make it better than the league before, what was the biggest challenge that you think you faced so far in regards to revisiting a previous league to make improvements on it?
So development's only recently started, but I can already say the biggest challenge that I've personally gone through at the moment is the task list. The task list is absolutely massive now. I think we're almost like 1,600 tasks.
Wow.
And for Shattered Relics, you had access to all of those. So it was a bit overwhelming. So I'm very cautious about maybe having too many tasks, so too few. We also want to mix it up in terms of like, we really don't want you to actually load up videos from back then or do the exact same like 20, 30 early game tasks or something like that, have the same experience. I really want every player, regardless of what areas you picked, even if you decided to pick the same areas as last time, to feel like you've got more of a unique experience. And that's really difficult. With a game as big as Old School RuneScape, it's so hard to really nail that.
I mean, I imagine ideally those tests are split fairly evenly across the areas as well, so it's just an additional thing just constantly having to be thought of. But I'm sure you're going to smash it. Another one of the big changes that was mentioned is the move to static points thresholds. Why have we chosen to do that rather than sticking to the dynamic ones, which are based on your finishing position in the high scores?
So for anyone that really took the competitive aspects, especially in the previous leagues, you'll all be somewhat familiar with the burnout that you received at the end of a league. Like, constantly chasing an ever-moving value is really exhausting. You're logging in every day thinking, what are my easiest 3 or 4 tasks just to keep my rank? And that honestly just got really not fun very quickly. So with static point values, we can actually put this in game as well. So as soon as you log in day one, you're going to see, for example, 40,000 points to get Dragon Tier. And you're going to know exactly, okay, I need to get to 40,000 points. What areas do I pick to optimize this? What relics? You can really plan it all ahead of time. Instead of maybe just figuring out like, oh, maybe I need 20,000 points, maybe 30,000, 40,000. This makes it so you can still be competitive and chase your ranks on the high scores, but you aren't constantly chasing this value, which might be quite frustrating for a lot of players. I know personally, I got really frustrated trying to hunt for I think it was a Lucky Impling in Puro for my last 250 points to solidify the dragon rank for Trailblazer, and I just never got it, and it was just frustrating, right? I had dragon for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then lost it because of that.
Did you lose that? You only got rune rank?
Yeah, I lost out by rune rank by 30 ranks or something.
That's unfortunate. I guess what in this version of Trailblazer, what makes it better than the first one, in your opinion, based on your experience so far, the design, development, beginning?
So I know when I first joined the company, this is quite a while ago now, around 3 years, I was always really inspired by Mod Husky and Mod Flippy, because they worked on Twisted League together, and then they really refined it, got all their learnings and stuff into place, and really just refined it to the thing that Trailblazer ended up becoming, right? And it was so much better, and players really understood that. They really felt those improvements. And honestly, it's going to be more of the same. We've obviously run Trailblazer, so we can learn off that, and we've also run Shattered Relics now. We have so much more learnings and expertise to actually refine the league and just be hopefully so much better.
Honestly, the thing I'm looking forward to is just how people are going to choose different areas. Korend and Kebos is massive. There's a full raid there with Twisted Bow, so much iconic gear. There's a whole new raid in the desert. Like, it's going to change it. And so it's going to feel quite a different experience, I think, for pretty much everybody on Trailblazer Reloaded.
Even the wilderness this time around as well, with the reworked wilderness bosses. Yeah. Granted, the items that they drop may not be the most of use in PVM instances, but for general just like gameplay, points, tasks that they can go out and get, it's completely changed that area too as well.
Yeah. I'm personally looking forward to all the debates in the community. There's always like, Team Relic this, Team Relic that, Team Area this, and it's like, it's so much fun seeing the tribal like warfare that comes out on social media over it.
Actually, I have to ask this question, and I'm sorry, you haven't prepared for this one, so feel free to say no to answering it, but will run be required, or is it going to be unlimited in Trailblazer?
No. So yeah, we're still going to have the unlimited run. Okay. I don't think we'll ever revert that decision unless there's like a major mechanic that requires it.
I was about to be called a walker again, and I was not ready for that pain.
I'll also say as well, Last Recall is definitely making a reoccurrence in this league.
Good.
So
that was one of the best things in the last league. It was so fun.
Completely
really
changed the game. And we're also going to be looking into supporting it even more. I know one of the gripes that we had for Trailblazer was a lot of instances didn't save once you teleported out. So we made exceptions for God Wars Dungeon, and that completely redefined how you actually farm the God Wars Dungeon, being able to go back and forth constantly. We're going to look at trying to really support that. So then for almost all bossing that we can reasonably support, you're going to be able to use Last Recall to go back and forth for all at PVM.
Might finally feel good at PVM. I can't wait.
So obviously we've mentioned some of the areas a lot better than last time. What regions do you think people are actually going to pick?
Like, in the video, we kind of memed on it a bit about how only fools pick the desert, right? The desert is looking really stacked now. It's actually kind of crazy when you think about it. There's Giant's Foundry, Guardians of the Rift, obviously Desert Treasure 2, Tombs of Masca, Temporos. So like early to mid game and late game has all been kind of rejuvenated in that entire area. So like it's gone from being one of the weakest in Trailblazer to what it looks right now to be one of the strongest areas. Let's not forget about Ancient Magics in the first place, right? Like, no matter what style you actually picked, whether it's like mage, range, or melee, you kind of wanted Ancient Magics. It's so useful. So I don't know. I feel like Desert is almost a must pick now.
Definitely going to be Desert Gang, I think, when it comes to League for me. It's just, even so that I can just go and blast through Tombs of Damascus with completely broken setups, I think it's going to be insanely fun. So, last question from me anyway. What is it like to work on a League? And do you have a favourite moment of that so far?
I've not worked on it for too long yet, but I think in terms of like the early design that we've been doing, coming up with relics is just really fun. Coming up with new tasks is really fun. It's something that I've been working here for like 3 years or so now, but obviously the poll system requires a lot of back and forth in terms of like what do we think will actually settle in the game like properly and be exactly what the players want. But with the relics, we don't have to care about game balance. We don't have to care if it like breaks a bunch of metas or anything like that. So you can kind of let loose a bit more, be really creative in that regards. So yeah, that's actually just really refreshing and really exciting to just come up with completely busted things that will hopefully be really fun to use.
That's very much the philosophy, right?
Yeah.
If this renegade breaking the game, it's not strong enough.
Yeah.
I think it honestly is the best thing about Leagues for me, especially, is that, you know, main game, everyone would absolutely lose their minds if something was completely game breaking. Obviously, there are occasions when something like, I don't know, the Soul Reaper axe once hits people in PvP that isn't intended, but in Leagues we can kind of make things like that intended, and everyone finds it really cool. So it's our one chance to just do whatever the hell we want and just see what happens. It's honestly the best time ever. And understandably, why the players are so excited for it as well. Yeah. I saw so many pogs in the chat there. It's great.
Anything else you want to add on Leagues before you leave the sofas?
Please join it and see how it goes. I'm honestly just really excited to see like how my personally first League like I'll be working on goes. I'll be playing it. I'll be seeing you all in game.
Right, and I think you've got one of the best shirts we've seen so far.
Oh yeah. I know, you're looking very succulent today.
Well,
I say so myself.
Thank you.
Right, that wraps up Leagues 4 for now. We've got another giveaway and a winner to announce.
Oh, we do.
Who's won this little boy?
That was a good one.
Fair, gnome child, no specification. But the winner is Taco with a 0. Congratulations, you're gonna take gnome child home. You can pickpocket and get the little toad. It's really cute. It's really cute. But obviously we have another, and if Arcane, you could be so kind to hand over Bob. Sorry.
What?
Did anyone just hear anything?
No.
Wasn't me.
I don't want to missell features. He doesn't have a little like vocalizer. I think that was Aiza.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let out a little meow.
Would I ever meow live on stream? Come on, who do you think I am?
I don't know. Okay, all right, well, you've got to do it now. Okay, and can you do a little meow?
Meow.
Your first meow was pathetic.
The first one just didn't come. You just like managed to the air.
Just like.
All right, let's quickly move on.
New most popular plushie.
Bob, you know where to go by now. !Discord. There will be a post to react to in #giveaway. That channel is the way to go. If you don't win, obviously you can buy one. So !makeship to go to the website and sign up to be the first to be informed about all these sort of things going on. But how adorable. And I do realise now that looking at this set of 4 plushies, like 2 of them are based on dead characters. No spoilers. But
you know, it's just the old school way.
Unfortunate. But you can see Bob's got a little name tag right here, Bob, on his collar. You turn over the name tag, it says R.I.P.
Aww.
Forever lost but never forgotten.
Poor guy.
Why would you have a name tag like that? That's like really.
I don't know. It's
messed
strange,
up,
isn't it?
Well, we do things different in old school.
But right, with that said, go and win Bob. But we have a really exciting reveal we're about to show you.
I mean, if this doesn't blow everyone's minds, then I'm sorry, but I don't know what is. I don't know what you're. I can't even speak, honestly. And it's also, it doesn't end here. There is still one more section for us to go afterwards. But without further ado, probably the biggest announcement that we could be making to date is coming to you right now, and then we'll be joined by the wonderful Mod Ed. So stay tuned, enjoy the video, and we'll see you in a moment.
The world of Gielinor stretches far and wide, from the darkness of Mauritania to the crystal city of Prifinus. And in your journey through this world, you've almost visited every corner of it. But next year, the sun will rise over a new land. So pack your bags and prepare to travel westward. Because this is Old School's next big area expansion. This is Varlamore. Generations ago, Xeric's Age of Strife threatened to bring about the ruin of Great Korend. In a final bid to save themselves, a small group of refugees braved the journey over the treacherous Custodia Pass. On the other side, they found themselves in an untouched land of unimaginable beauty. It was here that they made their new home. Thanks to their isolation, their home quickly prospered, and they chose to remain isolated long after Xeric's defeat. Even today, travelling to or from Varlamore is highly restricted, but that is all about to change. After years of preparation, Queen Ziani Arkan is finally ready to open the borders to her kingdom. Your journey to Varlamore is about to begin. Now, when we say big area expansion, we mean it. Varlamore is filled to the brim with exciting new things to do. We have new bosses, new skilling activities, and of course, new quests. There's so much to this new area, to the point where it's going to be far more than just a single game update. You can expect multiple batches of Varlamore, starting in the south, with the capital city of Civitas Illifortis and the Avium Savannah. In the capital, you'll find the imposing Fortis Colosseum, where you can prove your worth in a brand new Fight Cave style combat encounter. Once you're done there, why not head out into the savannah and join up with a renowned hunter guild? Or maybe you'd prefer to delve below into a dwarven town of Camtorum. Here, you'll find a new dungeon that's probably best described as Forthos meets Barrows, with the same dungeon also being the focal point of our first Tale of the Sun. These are new standalone quests found all across Varlamore. Speaking of quests, this first batch will also bring you 2 new quests in an all-new storyline. One that will see you uncovering the mysteries of a dangerous Varlamorian cult. Now that's just a small idea of what to expect in our first batch of Varlamore, and you can look forward to plenty more both within that first batch as well as in further batches throughout the year. So I'll leave you now with your first exclusive look at the map for Varlamore.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That is all I want to say right now is wow, and welcome to the stream, Mod Ed. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you for having me.
Good. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you for what I think was an absolutely incredible announcement. So, Varlamore, huh? Who saw that one coming?
Is that what we announced?
Yeah, funny enough, it was. I mean, you know, we've teased and mentioned Varlamore for ages. The players have been asking about Varlamore ever since Gentle Tractor released a map one time on Reddit. So, why now?
Well, why not, really? But I think this is something that we have wanted to do for a very long time. I think, as you say, ever since, what would it have been? When did Gentle Tractor first make that first map with Varlamore? That must have been. It wasn't that long after the original launch of.
What was Zaya back then instead of Korend? Yeah.
So that would have been what mid 2016, I'm guessing.
Around about.
Like when we first saw that map
7
and
years.
It really
makes me feel old.
I think it really showed us. It put us in our place a little bit. Let's be honest. Let's be fair. It put us in our place a little bit, and it really showed us what an area expansion could be. And ever since then, I think it has been the dream to finally visit Varlamore. And I think now was just really the right. We've grown the team to a point where we can really do it justice. I think that was a really important thing here. That obviously we don't want it to go quite how the Korend launch did. We want to make sure we're delivering this huge area with all these amazing things to do in it, and that it really should, fingers crossed if all goes well, this should really feel like exploring the game all over again. Like, we talk a lot about what is old school. Like, nostalgia is obviously a huge part of it, and it feels very weird to be talking about nostalgia with a brand new area expansion, like something that's completely not old school in the slightest, but it's the thing that really, it's the only thing that truly has the potential to actually recreate that feeling of playing the game for the first time, because you're experiencing something brand new.
Yeah.
And yet, it is still old school, and that's the beauty of it. It's like this perfect blend of old and new.
Well, I'm extremely excited, and I think throughout the questions we'll delve into a little bit more of what Varlamore means. But if you haven't already, check out the pinned post that has been put in by Mod Light to check out all the info for Varlamore, because we talk about Varlamore as an area expansion, but there is a ton of content that's coming out, multiple different pieces of content within one update. It's absolutely massive. And Kieran, you want to touch on that?
You're just talking on that, right? It sounds pretty big. So, Ed, how big are we actually talking here? Like, what kind of scale is this update going to be? Should its players expected to all come at once?
So, it's big. Like, we saw the map just a few moments ago. I think maybe we'll take another look at it. Yeah, there you go. Like, it's
pretty large.
It's big, but obviously bigger. It's not always better. And
okay.
Yep.
He went there.
It's fair to say that obviously with the original Karen launch, like, we're going to make a fair few comparisons to Karen 2, as you may have guessed. Like, with the original Karen launch, it was very much like it was a huge landmass and not a lot of things to do with it. So while Varlamore is big, that we know it's so important that it feels like everywhere you're going, there's so much to do, so much to explore, that there's content there that justifies the size. And as mentioned in the video earlier, that it is so big that it's not actually all coming in one go, and like that's not a negative by any means. Like, do not take that as a negative. It's only because of just how much is there. But we're going to be launching it in multiple stages across the year, with the first stage coming very, very early in the year if all goes well. And you can see now the updated map. This is the area that you'll be visiting in that first release early next year.
So much to
and
unpick
even
from there.
you can see that even just the first bit of it, there is so much there. We've got the huge capital city of Civitas Illiforte. It's going to be so exciting to explore that city. But then all the area around it as well. We've got the Avium Savannah, the Hunter Guild, we've got Rals's Rise. This is obviously just the surface as well. Like, big criticism of Kren on launch, like, that it was just the surface, there's no dungeons. Like, you're playing a fantasy game like Old School, you expect dungeons, and obviously you can see there's quite a few dungeon icons on there, most notably being the Camtarum dungeon, this new dwarven town that's the sort of also the location of one of the key pieces of content that's going to be in Varlamore as well. Like, there is so much to do, and that is just in the first release, and we've got so much exciting things planned for the rest of the year as well. We'll be opening up like more of Varlamore as the year goes on.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure that we can touch on that as the year develops, but let's try and unpick some of the parts that are going to be potentially coming with Varlamore Part 1 early next year, should all go well in the upcoming polls. Korend, Kevos and Varlamore, they've all been opportunities for Old School to tell its own stories. So why should players be excited about upcoming quests?
So I think it really is just that. It's the opportunity to tell new stories. Like, you know, don't get me wrong, like, Old School has so many like fantastic legacy storylines, and you know, we've seen continuations of some of those fairly recently with Desert Treasure 2. We've got another one coming very soon, as announced earlier, with Path of Gloufrey. But the really exciting thing about Varlamore is it gives us the opportunity to tell a story that people have like never seen before. And again, I'm going to go back and make the comparison again. When we look back at the original Kren launch, one of the things that was really missing there was that there weren't any quests. And when you think back to when Old School was just RuneScape, like, when you're exploring new areas, it was all about the quests. Like, you go to Ardoin when Ardoin was released, you know, it came with quests. There's all these quests to do, and like you've got these notable ones that are part of the storyline, like the Plague storyline. But then also you just got the weird, like, little weird and wonderful quests, like you got like Monk's Friend and that sort of thing. And well, it took us a really long time to like bring Korend up to that same standard. Arguably, it's still not really there. Like, it's still moving in the right direction. But obviously, we've now got the Korend storyline, and we've been doing the Twisted Tales for standalone quests. Like, it's not going to take that long with Varlamore. Day one, we have, as announced earlier, 3 quests on day one. 2 of those part of a brand new storyline, and then one of them a standalone quest. Very, very unoriginally riffing off Twisted Tales, we're calling these standalone quests Tales of the Sun, and there'll be a lot more of those releasing in later releases for Varlamore as well. Like, it is so important that we have these quests, like, tell these stories, because that is what makes it feel Old School. And on the topic of quests, I'm going to I predict that there's something quite a few people will be interested in. Going, hang on a second, Varlamore, brand new storyline. What's going on here? We've already got tons of storylines. One of them has some connections to Varlamore with the Kren storyline, and obviously, you know, we're not saying anything about that just yet, but I think
you might be excited to see what happens a little bit later in the year. Let's just say that.
Okay, all right. Another little tease
exciting.
from Ed. Okay, I see. I see how you do it.
Is this the first time we're releasing 3 quests in one update? Have we ever released even 2 in one update?
So I think we've released 2 before, I think, when we did the Kebos launch. But yeah, I think this is the first time we're doing 3 in one go.
There you go.
Nice.
That is exciting. Right, there's a whole ton of stuff in Varlamore, as you've been touching on. What are you personally most excited for?
Well, obviously I am very biased, like me. It's all about the quests. Like, I am really excited for the quest. I'm really excited for the opportunity to tell these new stories. Really excited for what later release of Varlamore will bring as well, including that little tease I just mentioned earlier of the storyline. I think everyone knows is very near and dear to my heart, but obviously, it's not all about quests. Like, there is so many other awesome things going on in Varlamore. We've got the Hunter Guild, of course. That's something we've wanted to do for a really long time. Something that I know people have been asking for a really long time. Like, a really meaningful addition to Hunter. And like, when you look back at when Kebos launched the Farming Guild really showed what a guild can actually be. And it's really exciting to be able to do another guild, especially for a skill like Hunter that is definitely well in need of it. But there's just so much. It's actually keep going. Like,
really is.
Obviously, we've just talked about quests and skill, but what about all the PVM stuff? We've got the Fortis Coliseum. That is super exciting. Like, I think the Fortis Coliseum is one I think a lot of people are going to get really excited about. Like, this is something that people have been asking for quite a while.
I mean, on that topic, like, players loved the idea of Tessacal Trials that was pitched during a previous game jam. Like, what kind of inspiration has been taken from that for the Coliseum?
Well, I'm seeing in chat Rip Blue Inferno, but yes, but actually no, is sort of my answer to that, because it's not Tessacal Trials, but it's Tessacal Trials. Like, we knew that we all love Tessacal Trials. Like, players really were really excited for Tessacal Trials. And when we were doing Varlamore, we were looking at the story informatics of Varlamore. We've got this kingdom of people that they absolutely love combat. When we're looking, we've got the Tsar who absolutely love combat. And we've got this idea for a minigame all about combat. And you can start to see how it all sort of started to combine together. So we looked at Tessacal Trials and we took all the best ideas from that and we brought them into the Coliseum. So a lot of the things that people are really excited for Tessacal Trials, the Coliseum is where you'll be finding them. And, that's not to say we'll never do Blue Inferno. I know quite a few people sort of liked the sort of volcanic, it feels very, I don't know what right word. I guess it is sort of nostalgic. Sort of it feels like Fight Caves again. But maybe at some point we'll go back and do some sort of different take on Tessacal Trials. But at the same time, I'm really quite excited to see that style of minigame in just a completely different environment. Get it out of a volcano and into a Coliseum. It's just going to feel really epic, and it lends some different thematics that we've not really played with too much before.
Yeah, I think from the way that it's been described, again, obviously, if you haven't seen it already, check out the blog. It does have all the details, at least all the details that we're willing to share with you at this stage anyway. It does include just exactly how it would work, but it's essentially a wave-based minigame that allows you to progress through and decide to leave at whichever point you want to, but the longer that you continue to stay on within this battle, the more you'll be rewarded, and we're hoping to bring some pretty exciting, actual, useful combat-related rewards from that, similar to what you'd expect from the likes of other high-end PVM content, but it's meant to be content that's accessible for everyone, but has that level of higher play available, which kind of nicely leads me on to the question, almost as if it was planned. I think we have to address the fact that I know so many players, especially within the high level community, have been looking for more aspirational content. And obviously we've talked about a mid-level PVM boss, we've brought out accessibility with Tombs of Amaska, Desert Treasure 2 was pretty hard, but then with the Awakened on top of that to kind of satisfy. Do you think the Fortis Coliseum could potentially fill that void that the high level community are looking for at the moment with aspirational PVM content?
That's what we're really hoping for. To set expectations very clear, this isn't another Inferno. We're not doing another Inferno. One thing we're really wanting to do with the Fortis Coliseum is create something that's has a bit more replayability than Fight Cave and Inferno. So it's not going to be the same as those. But that said, I think it's fair to say that there is an itch that maybe hasn't been scratched for a little while for some of our endgame players, and we know that it is well and truly time for some new aspirational content, and we're hoping that the Fortis Coliseum can help scratch that itch. And again, let's keep the focus on what's happening in issue of Varlamore, but can also, give a little teaser, it's an area we want to keep exploring as we delve further into Varlamore with future releases. That is a group of players that we want to give them something juicy with Varlamore.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think the shape of it's going to feel quite different because it's intended to be replayed rather than kind of beat it once, get your cape, move on to something else. So that, I imagine, is going to change the dynamics of quite how it's designed. But I think certainly we've been talking about like Inferno level difficulty at that top end, right, towards the final wave. So
yeah, it is another wave-based mini game, and the way that we'd like to do it is that you can sort of like. It's kind of similar to Fight Game Inferno, but not really. Like, while technically you can drop out Fight Game Inferno early, and you do get a small reward. Nobody does that because it's
love a bit of Tockle.
We do want to make it sort of feel a bit more where like you can drop out early and still get a somewhat reasonable reward, but doing that also then allows us to really push it at the highest waves. And like the final boss at the end, of sort of like the last wave, we're hoping is going to be something that. We'll offer a nice challenge for people.
Exciting. Hopefully it can satisfy no monkeys everyone keeps referencing in the chat.
We'll see.
We believe. Does this mean Blue Inferno as a concept is dead? Is this replacing that?
So like kind of like as I mentioned earlier, like it kind of has for now replaced it, but the thing is that like when you look back at sort of like the updates released over the years, it's so many things have like shifted and morphed. Like I remember there was when we were doing Theatre of Blood, there was a boss in the Theatre of Blood called the Hespori, and everyone will be going, but the Hespori is not in Theatre of Blood. And exactly, like we ultimately cut it from Theatre of Blood, and then the idea was reshaped and reformed and came later on with Kebos instead. So never say never to Blue Inferno. Like the Tasakal, like they're really cool characters, and they're characters that we do want to do more of in the future. No spoilers. And who knows, maybe in the future there'll be an opportunity to do something different with Blue Inferno. But at least in the meantime, hopefully the Fortis Coliseum will scratch that itch, as said, for those people who are really looking forward to that.
Amazing, thank you. I think many people would be happy to hear that, and I know that there's a huge amount of passion within the team to explore something like a Blue Inferno, so those words aren't just falling on deaf ears. Believe me, I'm sure that there will be plans in the future, but for now, Fortis Coliseum at least looks like the next big thing in regards to PVM. Talking about maybe the lower level or mid-level, more accessible PVM aspect or side of the Varlamore expansion, what type of player do you think will be excited by the Perilous Moons, and why should we care about it?
So I think it's actually something that potentially a lot of people can get excited about, because it's so Perilous Moons. That is the what I mentioned earlier, the quest that we're calling the Tales of the Sun, the standalone quest. It's one of those, and it's the first one we're doing, and it's also bringing with it a brand new dungeon that we keep referring to as sort of like Barrows meets Forfos, and because of that, it's sort of to a certain extent, it kind of represents what we're trying to do with Varlamore as a whole, of like a brand new area with exciting new stories and exciting new areas to explore. It sort of wraps all of that up in a nice little, nice neat package, basically. Like, people love Forfos Dungeon because it really, like, dialed up to 11, so that feeling of exploration and discovery. And this should hopefully very much do the same. Hopefully, maybe even a little bit more so by having a full-on quest to go along with it. But then also, Forfos meets Barrows, so we've got the Barrows side as well, where we're going to have some demi-bosses in there, and those demi-bosses should hopefully offer something a little bit different to what we've got elsewhere in Varlamore. So we've got the Colosseum, which I just mentioned, very aspirational, and those demi-bosses should hopefully then offer like a little bit of a change of pace, and maybe an opportunity for people who are sort of like getting into PVM a little bit more, to sort of like learn a few new skills, that sort of thing, whilst exploring this cool new dungeon.
Amazing, thank you so much. Honestly, I'm so excited, and I can't wait to just finish the stream and just see what everyone's had to say about it in the mega thread that we've got posted, and seeing all the feedback, and hopefully it all being extremely positive, because I think this is literally one of the biggest, if not the biggest things to come to the game, aside from one other thing that we need to talk about that's just after this, but we'll save that for just now.
The thing is with it, right, everyone's kind of known at some stage that we're going to do Varlamore, but I can't believe how many people on Reddit were saying it's not going to be Varlamore. There's no way they can be doing Varlamore right now.
You are out there, Reddit. Come on. But do you think people would have literally guessed what we were going to be offering with Varlamore, though? Because I haven't really seen much commentary around what Varlamore would entail, and especially the things that we have offered, I think, hit every aspect of the game as good as they can. So super excited for that. I think it's probably time that we announce the winner of the next giveaway. Kieran, if you want to do the honors.
It is this little guy right here, Bob. The winner is, a nice and easy name this time, the winner is Rapture. So congratulations, you'll have your own little Bob very soon. But with that said, I think that's the last of the 4, right? If you've not won, that doesn't mean you can't get your hands on one of these amazing plushies. We've partnered with a company called Makeship, !Makeship in the chat, and go and find out a lot more information. The big thing you mentioned earlier is there's an increasing discount, all the way up to 15% off if you buy all 4 of the plushies. They're only available for a limited amount of time, so definitely get on there, get your pre-sale purchase in and so on. Very exciting, and it's amazing to be finally doing some official plushies, to be honest.
I know.
We've all really wanted to do it for a long time, so very exciting. With that said, you just alluded to it.
Yeah.
Let's talk the new skill.
I think. Okay, that drop. I was going to say we should say bye to Ed, but
well, we should.
He's done with me. He's got something more exciting now.
He's like, right, Varlamore's done. Friendship ended with Varlamore. Sailing's my new best friend. I see. All right, well, let's do it. Roll the VT.
Hey everyone!
Hey everyone!
Hey everyone! Today we're going to learn
All there is to know about sailing.
our proposal for Old School's first new skill. Sailing is an open world utility skill where you'll experience exciting new content that can only be found at sea.
It's non-instanced, traditional MMO exploration at its finest, with an old school RuneScape twist.
Sailing expands the vast world of Gielinor with brand new islands, creatures, treasures, and mysteries to uncover.
Acquire a seaworthy vessel and build upgrades and facilities that will let you access ever more dangerous areas of the ocean.
You might have encountered ships in old school RuneScape before, but this is the first time you'll be able to captain a ship of your very own and sail into waters uncharted by even the most daring NPCs.
There's a variety of training methods available, whether you're into quests, PvM, skilling, or even PvP. Sailing is sure to have something for you.
And the choice is yours. Set sail alone or travel with friends. With a vast selection of exciting, dynamic, and immersive player experiences out at sea, no 2 trips will be the same.
Now's your chance to expand your horizons and experience the world of Gielinor in a whole new way.
So, let's dive into Old School RuneScape's potential newest skill. I'm Mod Light.
I'm Mod Husky.
I'm Mod Elena, and we're the developers working on the new skill.
Earlier this year, we asked the community whether they wanted a new skill.
And the answer was a resounding yes. We initially pitched 3 different concepts, and after a thrilling race to the finish, sailing came out on top.
We've since entered the refinement phase, where we ironed out 4 key topics that form the basis of this skill.
Today, we'll cover everything we've talked about so far, so that you can catch up before you cast your vote.
We want sailing to feel quintessentially old school, which is why it's critical for players to be in total control of their character while sailing. This exciting tech demo showcases how players can click to move their ship on the open seas, or move their character around on the ship by clicking on the deck. But that's not all. You can also board other ships and even see landlubbers hanging out on shore. Anyone care to share their fishing levels? We wanted to highlight that sailing can go beyond the mechanics from quests like Bon Voyage and show that this is definitely not the sailing skill that we pitched back in 2015. No clunky interfaces required. We also learned that ships are split into 3 different size categories: small vessels for shallow bays, large vessels for the open sea, and colossal vessels for the deep ocean. You'll unlock bigger ships as you train the skill, and you're not limited to just one of each vessel type, so you can customize your ships for whatever kind of content you plan to tackle.
The core of any skill is a simple, repeatable action that generates XP, like lighting fires in firemaking or planting vegetables while farming.
For sailing, interacting with any of the facilities on your ship will provide sailing XP.
Facilities include sails to make your ship go faster, cannons to take down enemies at sea, salvaging hooks to recover resources from shipwrecks, and much more.
But a skill is more than just a repetitive gameplay loop. Here's what else you can get up to on the open sea.
Chart the sea, documenting all the mysteries found within. Undertake courier, protection, or investigative port tasks to earn gold at sea. Test your mettle in high-speed trials with the Barracudas, a group of thrill-seeking sailors who run trials for all skill levels. And that is just the start. You can also partake in activities that utilize your other skills.
Use Hunter to track down elusive sea monsters. Use Farming to cultivate rare and beautiful corals. Use Fishing to catch exotic fish with the new trawler net facility. Use Mining and a special mineral dredge to recover precious minerals from the seabed.
In the future, you can also look forward to ocean raids, player-owned aquariums, treasure hunts, and much, much more. We love rewards here at Jagex. Rewards are good, and luckily for you, the sailing reward space is truly limitless. There is no end to the new resources, treasures, and legendary items that could be found at sea. Sailing will introduce a number of new resources, like logs, gems, fish, ore, and fibers, including rosewood, cobalt, garnets, blue tang, and hemp. Don't worry, we'll upgrade bank storage space for everyone, so you'll have plenty of room for your new goodies. Some of these resources will be used within sailing to upgrade your ship, but some have wider applications. What effects might new food provide? What kind of enchantments might jewelry made from the new gems have? And what can you smith from the new ores? All of this will be discussed and polled with the community if sailing passes the lock-in poll. Sailing's reward space also features a massive web of facility upgrades, where you can gain access to even more sailing content. Upgrade your hull to traverse dangerous reefs, build an enchanted lantern to pass through thick fog, or repel dangerous enemies. Upgrade your sails to sail through dangerous storms. There are endless ways for you to deal with the various threats that you'll encounter at sea. When you make it through the other side, there is sure to be plenty of rewards waiting for you.
We've already touched on the ways that sailing integrates with existing skills, but let's dive a little deeper. Construction will be used to build facilities on board ship, meaning that you'll get to show off your building skills outside the player-owned house. Crafting and smithing will let you process various resources into components with which to build these facilities. Imagine weaving nets or smithing cannon barrels. A high magic level will also serve you well on the high seas. Powerful sorcerers will be able to teleport to their ship, or teleport the ship itself. We also plan to let players keep their ship in a bottle for convenient transport. These existing skills aren't requirements to train sailing, but they will enhance the sailing experience. Another way sailing integrates with the rest of the game is by allowing players to recruit NPCs to their crew. How do you fancy persuading Duradel to take up combat again, or going on a voyage with Elena? The most evil of players might even convince evil Dave to leave his mother's basement. Of course, there are plenty of new NPCs to meet too. For example, meet Flupa of the Turtle Tribe. She's injured her flipper and needs your help to return home to the Great Conch, a mysterious island that only appears to those who know the way. There you'll meet Flupa's friends and family, learn a new training method, and get the opportunity to fight the Turtle Tribe's greatest enemy, the Griffins.
Caw! I hate that caw.
The Great Conch is just one of many exciting new places that you'll get to visit while sailing. The world is your oyster.
We've involved the Old School RuneScape community at every step of the process.
Which means we've had the honor of working with some insanely talented content creators.
Gentle Tractor has created some fantastic infographics.
The team has done such a good job of refining the skill pitch that it's really got me looking forward to the potential of sailing.
Scrape Monge has created 10-minute explainer videos on YouTube.
I've enjoyed watching this passion project spring to life and offering every player something to enjoy. The potential for sailing is incredible.
And we're absolutely in love with the artwork by Volkaban and Hootie.
Working with all of you has been a pleasure, and we're so grateful for your help bringing sailing to life.
Especially the wonderful people that we have been chatting with in our new skill Discord server. Now, it's your turn to help us launch our first ever new skill. But first, sailing needs to pass the lock-in poll. And whether it passes is all up to you.
If all goes well, you'll be able to play a beta soon. So it's in your hands. Are you ready for Old School's first new skill?
The lock-in poll is live right now. So if you want to see sailing in game as much as we do, vote yes.
Vote yes.
Vote yes today.
Oh my god, it's finally happened. The poll is now live, but not just any poll, it's the Giga poll. The poll of all polls. It includes everything that we've talked about today, from Varlamore to Chambers Changes, Path of Gothry, and of course, sailing. Oh my god, you have the chance to vote in Old School's potential first new skill, and we are joined by two of the developers who have been graciously working hard away with the community at every step of the way to bring this into life, make it a reality. Guys, before we get into it, I just need to reiterate once more, the poll is live. Head in game right now, vote at the poll booth, open up your account settings menu, vote from there as well if you can't be bothered to go to a poll booth, or just click the notification that you get when you log in. But please do make sure that you vote, make sure that your voice is heard, because ultimately you are the ones that are going to be deciding whether or not all of this content comes into the game. So please go and vote, go and vote, go and vote.
It's the biggest vote in Old School history, I think, in terms of the other content on
It
there.
really
everything.
is.
Like,
Massive game-changing pieces of content. I'm so hyped and I'm so nervous as well, but fingers crossed it goes well. Right, now that that's over, welcome Moderator, Mod Husky, to the couch and to the stream. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you both doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so hyped for everything that's been on today. Like, seeing everything from like the bathroom.
Shaking a little bit now.
It's been insane. To end on this, getting to put the poll live right now is super exciting.
I feel like it's like Christmas vibes for me, right? I've been thinking like, 2 months. It's like, okay, that's when we're supposed to have the yes vote for the poll, right? And then, okay, now 1 month. And then it's been, okay, a few weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week. Woke up today and I'm like, oh God, like today is the day. Like, we've obviously put so much work into this project for so long, poured a ton of passion in, worked with the community, and it is just like, now's the moment of truth, right? Now we get to see what the community truly think. You obviously read tons of comments, you read all sorts, and it's sometimes so hard to get that gauge, and just now we'll know.
Yeah, now we'll know that the proof is going to be in the pudding, as they say. That's the saying, right?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be checking how it's going as soon as we're off the stream.
just
a little bit nervous.
Slightly nervous, I'm not going to lie. All right, so refinement. It's been an amazing journey. It's been a long journey as well, and I know you've all worked really hard. How are you both feeling now that we've got to this stage?
You want me to kick off?
Go ahead.
I'll start. I'm relieved, honestly, because like Husky was saying, it's been a long journey. It's been a good journey. We've really enjoyed the work and like the strange nature of this project. Like, we've never really involved the community to this extent before. So it's been really exciting to do that. But I'm also really relieved that, we're finally getting to maybe do some coding bits again. Like, I'm really looking forward to that.
You've been in design hell for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's definitely, I think most projects you go through that like short design phase. You've got a kind of finished, design that you're kind of put out there open to feedback for the players. You put it out in a big blog. You get a ton of feedback. You guys in CM do a great job collecting it all, and then we decide, what changes do we want to make. But this has been like, okay, let's do a little bit of the design and then put it to the players, and then do a little bit more of the design and then put it to the players. And it's just such a different feeling, compared to what we've normally been working on. So exciting. excited for the future of what that could mean for the team as well. You know, maybe people look at different ways of designing content, or especially if they want to get more community integration into it and stuff. So
for sure, yeah. I think one thing that we've especially learned within the community team is that sailing going forward definitely is going to be acting as our flagship example of how to involve the community in larger projects. Not in every single project because they're not the same scale, but something that has that level of impact, I feel like it's gone down really well. We've not really seen any negative feedback from at least how we've approached it. Obviously people have their ideas and differences in terms of decisions or choices, but none of that's really locked into the absolute, T right now, because that's what's going to happen after the poll passes. If it does, we get to work with you even further beyond.
Doesn't end now.
No, it doesn't.
But yeah, it's hard to. I mean, we got Elena, we got you, Husky, here as well. But there's so many other people in the team at Jagex as well who've been hugely involved, especially Mod Light, obviously, who was on the video as well. Had a big hand in putting the blogs together all the way through the refinement process, and a lot of organisation with the members of the community as well, who we've been lucky to be able to get to work with as well. It's insane how talented, how creative the community is. You both gave thanks in the video as well. Editorial, like I don't want to start listing because we'll be here forever, but it really is a colossal effort. The amount of people involved, the talent of everybody on show through the process. So
big shout out to Concept though. I think they quite often get forgotten about. I mean, we talk about the amazing art team, but all of our blogs and the infographics that were put together by Gentle Tractor are littered with like these just sort of outline sketches, bringing these ideas to life, because I think that's really helped a lot in the process to just visualize what we're talking about. It's one thing to read a massive essay with words and to see pictures sort of describing what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that they've also been a great creative source for us to bounce ideas off of throughout the process. So
we are blessed with the talent of our art team, like we truly are. But obviously, as we're saying, we've been working with the community so closely through this whole refinement process, through the entire journey to where we are now. We're finally here, the poll's in game right now. Don't forget to vote, by the way. How do you actually feel? Like, what's it like to actually have had the players so involved with the process?
I think it's been really enjoyable, but it's also been so critical, I believe, to this process. To just sort of paint the picture for everyone on stream who might not have followed across, we obviously had the vote to see, okay, 80% plus players want this new skill, that's the first step. But we obviously look back at all of our old skill proposals and sort of said, okay, well, we had like the sort of sparse design documents in the past for like original sailing and artisan, and then you look at warding and you're like, okay, well, this was a massive design document that was really hard to get across. And then we think, well, maybe us just, sitting in the office for days and weeks and months coming up with these designs isn't actually the best way to get a new skill that the community are going to fall in love with, that the community are going to want to see in the game. Getting a new skill into the game is such a controversial topic that it truly does make sense to have the community involved and to help us create that vision. And that process started off way back from that initial video at the last summit, where we go, cool, here are 3 ideas for skills, the sort of ones that we've selected internally. But we didn't know what sailing would turn out into now. We were just like sort of saying, hey, do you want a pizza, steak, or chicken, right? To the level of like ideas that we could go down, and then we find out what players wanted. And that whole community consultation process, we were like, cool, we know that the players want sailing. Now let's just break it down. What are the actual important things that we need to refine with the community? And it started off with navigation and core gameplay, finally rewards, and then lore and integration. These were the sort of pillars that we identified as core to flesh out. But just doing it all in one blog wouldn't have worked either. How are we going to get feedback on individual specific bits? So, we sat down with community, you guys, and strategy and said, let's just go through these sort of 2-week bursts. And we do these sprints internally for our own dev work. And what if we did like a sprint review with the community? What if we actually got them to review our designs piecemeal as we're doing it all? That formed the Discord stages, where we were literally doing like these presentation slideshows.
Podcasts, wasn't it, of sorts?
Yeah, and getting this live reaction and actively like quickly making design changes based on what players liked, what they didn't like, and then we repeated that 4 times for each of the topics. And I truly think that helped the quality of the design so much along, like from start to finish. I mean, I think the biggest question for me with sailing was always, how are you going to get XP? And I didn't know that at the start when we pitched it last summit, but community very strongly said, we want to be sailors and we don't just want to be fishermen at sea.
Yeah.
So that whole idea of making sure that you're getting XP from sailing and not just in a loop of I go out from a port and come back and get a chunk of XP, but just, and that sort of formed the basis of core gameplay for sailing really is interacting with facilities on a ship. It's the embodiment of being a sailor. It was the inspiration for that tech demo where we see that, you're not just turning into a ship and moving around on the water. You're actually still your player on the ship, clicking on things, getting XP. This wouldn't have been possible without the community. Inspiring, pushing ideas, and really letting us know what they want out of this skill. It is so different from that initial idea of just, hey, let's go to the seas and make a skill out of it, right?
Definitely is very different, and a drastic difference from what people may remember of sailing being back in the way back when it was first discussed. A lot has changed, a lot of hard work has gone into it, and you, the community, are to thank for that, really. Quick fire question here for both of you. If sailing passes, what are you most looking forward to?
Ooh, for me, I think it's all the stories that we've kind of begun now in the refinement process, and like
Turtle
getting
people.
to explore them further. Yeah, exactly. Like the turtle people, the griffins, the different factions that we've talked about. Like we got the traders, and so many different exciting new stories to go explore.
And you, Husky?
I think it is just really trying to satisfy that vision of being a sailor. People talk about sailing and doing all these other skills at sea, but forgetting that there's a skill at the center of that, which is sailing. I really want to help get to the point where navigation feels really fluid, really intuitive, it's not clunky, that actual activity is fun and engaging, and then having all these extra bits on the side just sort of like is that cherry on top of the cake, you know? So I'm really looking forward to just fulfilling that sailor fantasy.
All right, you really want to get into the old on the seas and making it feel good vibe. I see.
Yeah,
I like it.
Sailing, pirating, merchanting. You think about like, I have a ship, so I'm gonna find some way to utilize that ship in some way, and that is, I think having players have all these options as well. It really is. That's what an MMO is, right? You're not just dictating the path that you take.
Absolutely. And with the scale of sailing, the amount of content that can be opened up from it, it literally, it is pretty much limitless. We've never done this before. We've never allowed you to travel across the seas in the way that we will. The new places you're going to be able to explore, the new continents, the new experiences. We mentioned potential new raids, new islands. Just it's like opening up the entire game, but still very much in an old school way.
It's amazing how bright I think the future of Old School would really look
exactly.
with that scope of potential future area to use. And it's a completely new way to think about gameplay when the player's on the ship. So it really is exciting. Just to make it quite lighthearted, you ordered that core in that video. Who did the best one?
Oh.
Who would you?
I don't know. We did like 20 takes of the cores as well.
Why didn't we get 20 takes of the meows?
Yeah, true.
That was
live.
That was ad-lib. That was on you.
I mean, to be fair, chat, who did it better, the meowers or the chorers? What do you reckon?
Had to be the meows.
Okay.
I mean, you can still meow.
I mean,
you still have time.
I didn't meow anyway. I would never do that live on stream.
No.
It was definitely a strange ending to the recording session. You're finished. You're like, yeah, I nailed all that. I think that went well. And then they go, right, just before you go, can you just like caw like 8 different ways? And I'm like, why? Sure, I guess.
I love that.
A bit more serious though. If sailing does fail the poll, what's next for the team, and what would the future of new skills look like?
So I think it depends on a lot of things. Obviously, the actual percentage outcome, and a lot of what the community are saying and telling us feedback throughout this polling process is going to inform a lot of the decision. If it's very close with some very obvious feedback that we could make sort of changes, and then we could look to repolling. If it's clearly failed, obviously we should respect the poll. None of us want to put content into the game that our players don't want. As for the future of new skill, I think it's something that we would like to put on a pause just for a little bit. This whole process, while it's been great for getting community feedback, has been intensive both on us and the community. There could be a bit of new skill burnout if we suddenly jump into that conversation a few weeks from now. So I think we would leave it a little bit and then just look to re-tackle that question, sort of ask the players again, cool, do you want us to sort of come up with some new ideas? Do we go back 1 stage, 2 stages in the process, that kind of thing? We really do just want to listen to the community and see what they think our next steps would be, because nothing should change, right? Like everything I've said about new skills should be what the community want, and they should help us get to that sort of outcome should remain true.
Absolutely. And I think then on the flip side, if sailing does pass the polls, when can players expect to get hands-on with the skill? Do we have an idea of when the first beta might be, for example?
So if sailing does pass, our next step is to just go away and have a big think about how do we, make a skill from scratch, because we've never done that in the old school team. Obviously, this is the first new skill, potentially. So we'll go away, we'll have a think about, our internal sailing roadmap, what makes sense to make in which order, essentially. The first thing we'll look to tackle is probably navigation and that kind of core, just making your ship sail around, and making that, really nailing that aspect of it, because that needs to feel good. And so that's the first bit that we would look to give to players, essentially, in a beta. So if everything goes according to plan, hopefully we can get a beta out this year. Fingers crossed.
Wow, okay, there we go. And I can say that further along from a beta, we are aiming for a 2024 release of sorts. Now, obviously, that's very dependent on a roadmap and how things go over the next week, especially with the poll. So just one final reminder, if you haven't already, that's not going to be the final reminder, I lied. Go and vote. Make sure that you do vote in the Gigapoll. It is live. You can vote on everything from Varlamore to Chambers to Path of Glottery to the sailing skill. And then if you're wondering what's happening with leagues, that's going to be coming in a few weeks. We're just finalizing the rewards that you can have on offer, and you'll be able to vote on all of those rewards. They'll be in a separate poll. There's so much more that we could be talking about sailing, but I think, in all honesty, we do have a pretty big video for people to be watching afterwards. So maybe it's best that we let those who want to hear more listen to that video, and maybe we'll wrap up with just one more question here, which is, how do we expect sailing to be balanced against other skills? Do we have an idea how long it might take to reach max level, for example, versus existing skills? And will it be viable?
So those are 3 questions. You kind of lied there, but I'll let it slide.
It is what it is.
One more question. Yeah. Where would sailing sit in comparison to other skills? So we're not looking to make sailing be an outlier in terms of time to max. We'd probably look at existing skills, try to match them somewhat. Probably wouldn't be, the slowest skill to train by any means, but also probably wouldn't be the very fastest. I think the exciting bit here is that we can actually look to spice up sort of the journey to 99, if that makes sense. Compared to existing skills where you might have some really cool methods that you train for a while, but then it kind of becomes a slog at certain level ranges. And we'd look to, really dig deep into that and make sure that you consistently have something new to do, or some new upgrade or something new to look forward to, so that whole journey feels exciting and enjoyable to train. It's not just a race to end game. Okay,
fantastic, really good. I appreciate that. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
and the Bible thing as well.
Bible.
Yeah, sorry. It's not Bible, in short.
A bit straightforward.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I can go a bit deeper if you'd like. So essentially, Bible skills, usually you just buy a product and then you refine that product and get XP from that. I think if sailing was about building your ship, it would be viable, because then you could just buy the materials, build your ship, and that's done. With our, sailing, we want to give construction XP for building your ship, and sailing XP is granted by interacting with the facilities on your ship. So you have to be out at sea, sailing yourself or with friends, and that's how you get the XP. So obviously, I think having money might help with those upgrades to the ship, but ultimately it's not viable.
All right.
The power of hindsight from all the other skills. We know what people don't like. I'll go out there and say on a limb, I think sailing will be the best skill in game.
I would also
All right.
agree. I'm definitely team sailing, seeing all of the incredible work that you've put into it. Sure, I'm positive there's a level of bias there, but even I take away that bias, I know deep down from seeing all the content that the team have put out recently, I've never been so obsessed with Old School in my life as I have been in the last 3 to 4 months. And that is just look at what's been released, look at the level of quality, how much we've been so passionately involved with all of you players, and how much the players are loving the game too. There is no chance that we're going to miss this opportunity to put out something absolutely incredible. And Remember, it's down to you all at home, so go and vote, have your say. We have got a Q&A if you want to have a look or listen to some more in-depth questions regarding sailing, and you can do !sailing Q&A. That's Q, the ampersand, I think that's what it's called, and then the letter A. For everything regarding sailing, or just check out the Old School YouTube channel. We don't want to go through all of them. There's so much that we could talk about, but obviously the most important thing is that you go and vote. Do you want to have a quick look at the full roadmap reveal now?
No more question marks.
No more question marks.
Look at that.
Ooh. Wow. So from Deadman all the way through to an area expansion with a league dotted in between and a whole bunch of changes that you can all look forward to. What an incredible lineup. And then potentially even a beta for sailing later this year. Just, we need the Owen Wilson wow
so
soundboard.
much stuff there. What, we wows.
Wow.
Wow. Like,
Okay.
coming out of 2024,
mean
there is
meow?
so much stuff to come.
There really is.
And obviously, as we've mentioned, we're targeting, obviously, there's a lot of work to come, but targeting 2024 for sailing if it does get a yes vote from the community. So do vote now if it's something you want to see.
Please do. All right, before we wrap up, a couple of things. Happy to say, that the team have let us know that the website is now working and functional again. So thank you to everyone for showing your interest in discounted membership. You can do !membership for a link to the store page. But essentially, in order to celebrate the Summer Summit and all the fantastic content that we have coming up, hopefully that's been enough to entice you for the next 6 months and beyond. We are offering 10% off Premier membership for the next 48 hours. It's the best value membership package we offer, and we've made it even better. The discount's automatically applied, so all you have to do is log into your account, visit the membership page, and select the 12-month Premier membership to claim, not complain. And as you can see here on screen, that works out to £4.50 a month, which is an absolute steal. One more time, !Makeship in the chat for all the information in regards to our new partnership with Makeship and the Old School RuneScape plushes. You can register your interest for when they go on sale, which is the 23rd of August. They're limited edition and they will no longer be available after the 20th of September. So make sure you head on over there to register your interest. And if you buy more than one, you get a discount for doing so. If you want to see everything in regards to what we've discussed today, !Summit Summary will take you to the Giga blog that coincides with the Giga poll. And obviously on the Old School page, you'll see all of the news posts explaining all the details around everything that we've discussed with you. And I think that just about wraps it up for us. We are going to be throwing out a host to a wonderful community member in a moment, just before I let the rest of the couch say their goodbyes. Mr. Manuel is doing a charity stream for St. Jude, so it would be great if you could all stick around whilst we prepare that raid. Show your love, show your support and appreciation. Do it the Old School way. I know you all come through strong as always. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone from the production team, everyone from the CM team, the designers, from our CRM team, marketing, for all putting on an incredible show, helping us make this possible, and obviously to you, the community, for being so wonderful and awesome as you always are. Any more words from anyone on the couch?
Can I just quickly say thank you to everyone who stuck around for the sailing refinement process as well. Obviously, it's been, over half a year now, and we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you. And thanks for sticking with us tonight as well. It's been awesome.
It really has.
What she said.
I like it.
Plus one.
Well, lad, thank you for your support all year. I mean, the game's, I think, in an incredibly healthy place. I think our team's in the most healthy place it has been. We're going very strong, and it's amazing to be able to come here and be part of announcing the next 6 months where Old School's hopefully going to be even stronger. It's been an amazing journey with Old School over the last, is it 10.5 years now of life of Old School?
Yeah, don't remind me. Thank you.
Amazing, and stronger now than ever before. So thank you for being part of that journey with us. Thank you for listening tonight and watching. Go vote.
Yeah,
thanks
please,
for your vote.
go vote. Much love, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you sometime next week.